Hello everybody and welcome to another brand new Let's Play. Ballads at Midnight is the story of a poor bard that gets arrested and ultimately has to deal with a vampire. There is not too much to talk about in the start, so let's just get right to it, because I'm really intrigued by the story of this game. So, Chapter 1. Let's get started. Prelude to Dawn. Is the menu going to be up this entire time? I guess so. But I guess that makes sense, because you can, like, check the history and all that sort of stuff. And I guess I just click on the screen. Anyways, my wrists itch. My stomach is churning and empty. My legs are sore. The swath of hemp fabric strung taut around my cheeks and tied in a knot behind my head is chafing against the corners of my mouth. I think we've been, gagged, potentially. There's a bitterness on my tongue. I idly wonder if it's the taste of regret. My two armored escorts right ahead of me, exchanging hushed words. I make a short, unhappy noise to contribute to the conversation. They ignore me. But are you sure, sir? Really? Are you? Shouldn't we stop and make camp before sundown, sir? The younger guardsman is jittery and demanding, with a stooped posture that reminds me of a rat. His round face is marked by pockmarks and worry lines. No need. We're making good time. The other guard, as old and large as a cavern wall, has a deep, crusty voice, well suited to his frame. I once saw him struggle to fit through a door. The pockmarked guard glances toward the horizon line, gritting his teeth. But sir, enough. We will be rid of her today. Be rid of me? Like being rid of some piss-stained rug? How rude! What did I ever do to warrant such objectification? Feeling vexed, I continue to groan and yowl against the hemp between my teeth. It's inarticulate and far from the most graceful sound I've ever made, but I make it sound increasingly urgent. Noise and more noise. One of them pulls the reins on his horse, dismounting with a dull, armored clatter, like a rattling dish cabinet. It's the younger one. Good. He approaches me, muttering swears as he reaches back to yank the gag from my head. What? Convict, was it now? Ooh. I could start screaming, or most people buy me a drink before they bring out the gag. Wink. Stop it. He hisses the words low under his breath. Through his ears glow a traitorous shade of tomato red. It wasn't funny the first time, and it won't be funny the next time. There won't even be a next time at the rate we're going. I can say it again pretty fast, I think. God, so you really haven't learnt your lesson. What's wrong with you? He sounds almost amazed. If my hands were untied, I'd twirl my wrist and do a curtsy. So instead I settle up to him, reaching out to brush my knuckles near his waistband. What's wrong? I wager you know exactly what's wrong. I was under the impression we'd moved past ritualistic sacrifice as a civilization, you see. I thought we were better than all this. Yet, here you knuckleheads are, dragging me through the woods to feed me to a godforsaken vampire? I stomp on a branch when I get close enough. The ensuing crack obscures the sound as I unsheath the dagger from his belt. I palm it under my sleeve in a quick motion, hoping my ruse goes unnoticed. The guard stumbles away from me. He draws his sword to keep me at bay, snarling. You keep away, you heretic! Don't come near me! I raise my bound wrists in front of my chest, widening my eyes to look appropriately frightened. And I still have his dagger. By the time he clambers back onto his horse, his older companion extends his arm and smacks the back of the young guardsman's head. Idiot! Now we have to listen to her belly aching for the rest of the journey. Do we? The younger guard rubs his head, sounding defensive. She's caused nothing but trouble. Why not slit her throat and be done with it? Let the wildlife take care of the remains. Ah! The old guard hits him again. I'd find humor in this slapstick routine if they weren't discussing my imminent demise. Shush! We carry Her Majesty's orders to the letter, you and I. No shortcuts. You know the severity of our laws. Underhanded practice will cost you your damn hands. The pockmarked guard hunches further at the shoulders. His eyes dart around like he wants to argue, but he begrudgingly clamps his mouth shut. I, on the other hand, have a dogged I can never remember. Is it penchant? How to pronounce this word? And I have a dogged wait. What other word could it possibly? What other word could? I usually make my observations known and I'm blessed with quick retorts. There we go. Skip the awkwardness when you don't remember how to pronounce a word properly. Or it just costs the fingers if you're lucky. I noticed our wild old man, he is missing a digit or two. I raise my restrained palms, wriggling my fingers. They glow balefully at me. I've seen actual battlefields, harlot. Do not liken me to your crooked, bar-brawling ilk. Convict, heretic, and now harlot. Wonderful. I roll my eyes and wrinkle my nose at him. I bet anything that the old man is lying. Illuvia hasn't waged any wars in the past half-century. Furthermore, he boasted to my jailer that he has been assigned to this post for the brunt of his service to the crown. But I know better than to push my luck with him. He is more prone to violence than the other guardsmen. I used to lag behind at the start of our journey, defiant and stubborn. The old one never hesitated to yank the rope around my wrists, lurching me right into brambles and sharp stones. Defying him, I learned, but having scraped palms and knees as best. Our pace carefully slows when we cross over a mossy log and a series of thick, tangled roots. For the horse's sake, of course, rather than mine. I work my jaw in silence for a while, keeping a measured distance behind them. My grip on the dagger is unwieldy and clumsy. Aiming it toward my bonds is trickier than I thought. I flinch at the pointed tip jabs against my inner arm, but shoot the guards a winning smile when they turn to look at me. So, good old cursed forest, eh? Did you volunteer to escort prisoners through this blighted brush, or was it an inherited post? Father's father and such? The pockmarked guard scoffs and mimics my words under his breath. Nothing to fear in these outwards, lass, not if you're properly armed. Nothing but bears and wolves. People stay clear because they fear what lies in wait beyond. Surely you know that much. The men don't deign to tell me how they were assigned to their roles. None of my business, I suppose. An overhead canopy of leaf parts, allowing patches of sunlight to heat my scalp and cheek. The journey has been long and exhausting, but not altogether difficult. I'd even consider it idyllic from its perpetual backdrop of birdsong and distantly running water. Any sense of leisure sinks and coils in the pit of my stomach as I realize the birds have gone silent, and the sound of water has risen into a dull roar. Before us is a murky disk of water, blemished green with algae, miles long and miles wide, and a harrowingly uncertain depth. A jagged, ostentatious estate, protruding from the ground like a sword through someone's back, looms across the water's expanse. Not the first decrepit castle I've seen in my travels, but perhaps it may be my last. That's where I'll be staying then. Home sweet home? Shit, I've barely shorn through a quarter of my restraints. Even if I make a break for it now, they'd run me down on horseback. I tried it before, back when they marched me through the greater plains. They nearly trampled me into paste. Quiet down, you sorry lass. You may wish to take this time to consider your last words. That's not a bad idea. I could hit you with a real zinger before I go. The old guard groans, mumbling a bitter prayer. I barely have time to hide the dagger before he dismounts and shoves me with more force than necessary. He loads me unceremoniously into a ramshackle little boat, leaving the pockmarked guard to deal with me while he tends to the horses. My breath catches when the remaining guard takes the seat opposite to me. His gawky movements nearly makes the boat capsize before we've even left the shore. The boat cuts through algae like a knife. Over on dry land, the old guardsman takes a heavy seat in the grass as he watches the sun descend. It's a more serene view than he deserves. I take a deep breath and open my mouth to shout. Shout! Shout! You old bastard! The young guard bites back a chuckle and clears his throat. I suppose he's freer to find revelry now that we are safe distance away. As I warily crane my neck around, I observe how the water completely surrounds the estate. That makes this a moat, but there curiously isn't a drawbridge in sight. At its northeast and westward edges, the moat connects to a river. Following one side will likely lead one straight to the Rubiffian Ocean. We'll go with that. It is quite lovely, really, to be surrounded by such a wealth of natural water. Shame, I never learned how to swim. Ooh, that's a problem. I don't suppose I can persuade you to ferry me over yonder all the way around the estates, on the other side of the shore? The guard elects not to reply. He won't even look at me now. Aside from the oars carving through the water, the remaining boat ride is hushed and nerve-wracking. I sit up straight and stock still, trying to keep my weight centered despite the stinging insects nipping at my neck and ankles. The sun turns red as it dips closer to the horizon. It takes half an hour to reach the other side, if not longer. Beyond the lip of the water is a carved ledge with a pit of trenches surrounding the estate's perimeter. The guard waits no time, forcing me upright and pushing me off the side. I fall into a roll, barely cushioned by the impact of grassy mud. I aim myself back up with effort, ready to yell the insult boiling at the tip of my tongue. To my surprise, the young guard is still up there, lingering at the edge. Hesitating doesn't make you better than him. With the sun setting behind the guardsman, his features are cast in unreadable shadow. His fingers twitch and tap at his side. He casts an uneasy glance over his shoulder before, finally he grumbles and rummages through his overcoat. From it, he pulls out the neck of a familiar instrument and throws it onto the ground with me. I cry out as my lute lands in the mud, nearly falling onto my own shoulder as I reach and fail to catch it. You'll owe me in your next life, convict. I hope this accursed thing provides you some comfort in your final moments. I glare up at him. Old guy made you nervous, didn't he? All that talk about cutting off hands for being underhanded? Shut up. I knew you were acting jumpy for a reason. I just knew it. You were going to pawn off my poor little beauty here, but now you don't want to risk getting caught with it. Harlot. He spits at me before he hurries away. I listen for the sound of the boat sloshing into the water, and the creak of the oars shortly thereafter. No way is it that when people don't know how else to argue with a woman, they must remark on how frequently she has sex. With effort, I dislodge the dagger from the inside of my sleeve. It's still unwieldy, but cutting myself loose is a little easier when I don't need to hide the blade from my captors. I pick up my lute, carefully wiping off the dirt and grime before I check and adjust its strings. I holster it across my back, where it belongs. It's thankfully intact, but I'm not sure I can say the same about myself. I need to come up with a plan. I need to explore and get familiar with my surroundings, seek out a hiding spot while there's still daylight. But my entire body is aching. I won't get far if I push myself to move now. I checked the inside of my clothes for the last of my possessions, kept safe and hidden under the lining. I've never been much more grateful to have learned invisible stitching. A handful of coins in my songwriting journal are all I have left. I had a hidden number of small blades on my person, but I was too reckless in my previous escape attempts. I kept getting caught, and they confiscated all my knives. This guardsman's dagger isn't too shabby, at least. I tucked the blade into my belt, careful not to poke myself. I'll be ready to use it when it's dark. The ledge I fell from casts a long shadow. I edge away from it into the remaining light, and I concentrate on taking deep, rejuvenating breaths. This creature of the night, I've heard it can change its very shape. If it pursues me in the form of some animal, I doubt I can outrun it for long. It's wisest to save my strength so I can battle whatever form it takes. After all, I'm determined not to go down easily. Whoa, that was fast. Chapter 1's already done. Chapter 2. Rhapsodic Introduction. Dusk falls. That's not good. There's barely a sliver of apricot orange glowing across the horizon, which means my shelter of light dims and shrinks by the minute. I shiver as the evening cold buries under my clothes, and I sense the vampire just moments before I hear it speak.
Well, well. Another gift from the crown.
Oh, voice acting. Oh my, hello. The creature's airy, serpentine voice moves around me as it prowls beyond the perimeter of remaining light. It's watching me, circling me like a vulture.
What grievous crimes you must have committed to be sent all the way here.
Could be a little bit louder though, couldn't it? So we're gonna do that. We're gonna make it louder. Ta-da! There we go. Perfect. I draw my dagger, pointing it at the source.
Assessing your dinner, beast? Your mother should have taught you not to play with your food.
The voice lapses into a contemplative hum. My heart hammers against my ribs as I lose track of the vampire in the silence. I twist around, catching sight of its eyes reflected in the moonlight right when it lunges. Oh, hello there. The vampire snatches me by the wrist. The skin on its dark, clawed hands bubbles under the waning sunlight before it wrenches me into the shadows. My dagger clatters to the ground.
You're talkative. I usually like it when they're talkative. But yours is an insolent nature. No doubt you've ended up here by disrespecting some local authority.
What, me? I would never. The vampire hoists my arm above our heads, positioning us face to face as he regards me. I scrutinize him in turn. He bears similarities to a human man, but I steal a glance upward, observing his already healed hand with dismay.
You smell of chain rust, fresh soil, dried blood, and incense.
Yeah, I'm a big hit with nuns and orphans.
What am I doing? This isn't the time for banter. I struggle in his grasp. He steps forward and remains blanketed under the gloom of darkness. There's a small clatter underfoot as he drives his boot under my dagger, kicks it upright, and then snatches the blade out of the thin air in a fluid motion. He twirls the dagger between his long fingers, appraising it.
Most unusual. Few of my guests manage to smuggle a means to escape their bonds. If I had to wager, you must be a talented cutpurse, which wouldn't be the worst offense, all things considered.
Stop manhandling me!
Oh god, she suddenly got like super dramatic. Jesus Christ. With my free open palm, I smack him hard across the face and yank my captive hand free. He flinches at the blow, looking more astonished than anything. I don't stay long enough to watch how he reacts next. I run. My lungs are heavy in my chest, my body is screaming at me to catch my breath, but I can't stop. There's nothing I can use in the courtyard. My only choice is to head into the estate and hope to find a means of escape. There's got to be a ladder or something I can use to scale that damn ledge. And I just need to find something buoyant, like a wood panel or a door, something. I run down dizzying, identical hallways. Down several cavernous rooms, displacing dining chairs and overturning saloon end tables in my wake. But there's nothing I can use to escape. Nothing I can narrow down in my panic. All the while, the vampire follows me with an even stride. He rubs his cheek with narrowed eyes.
Will you slow down? This is terribly tedious.
No.
He hasn't changed his shape, but I know how quickly he can pounce if I let him near. I can't let him get close. I topple the nearby cabinet, sending it careening onto the floor between us. The vampire makes a small, offended noise amid the sound of crashing glass. Before he can react further, I seize a standing vase and hold it aloft, ready to throw it.
Stop it. Calm down.
I pivot my grasp on the lip of the vase, bending my arms menacingly. Water and flowers slosh onto the floor.
You dare to tell me to calm down? Really?
There's an audibly muffled sigh when the vampire steeples his hand in front of his
I
nose.
despise the chase. Look at this blasted mess. You realize no one else lives here? After you're gone, who do you think has to clean up the remains of your rampage?
Well,
I'm sorry. Are you criticizing the way I'm fighting for my life?
she has a point.
You must understand, mortal. Despite what the good people of Illuvia will have you believe, I have no bestial compulsion to take your life, alright? Though I'll admit you have sorely tempted me with the prospect of your demise, there is a civilized alternative worth considering.
Oh, a civilized alternative to becoming a withered, bloodless corpse decorating his hallway? I keep the vase aloft, halfway between willful rebellion and uncertain
I'm
curiosity.
listening.
That is all I ask. First of all, this here.
He dangles the dagger from between two fingers, as if it's a dirty sock he found in my chambers.
As a show of good faith, I will return to you this nasty little thing. In exchange, you will not stab me with it. Its blade is neither sharp nor long enough to kill me, but it will deeply annoy me. If I am deeply annoyed, I will be forced to rescind my good faith and tear you to shreds. Understood?
Yep. I furrow my brows, but I nod. It makes sense. If I actually want to incapacitate him, I'd at least need a larger weapon. I've yet to hear any myths where vampires are notoriously weak to standard cavalry daggers.
Good girl. Here.
He tosses the dagger over me. It slides along the floor until I stop it with the heel of my boots. I don't bend to pick it up.
Our next matter at hand is the barter. I've been known to spare and set my prisoners free in exchange for knowledge or for an item of substantial value. Fortunately for you, I noticed the loot strapped to your back while you were racing through my abode.
Oh no. I pivot my torso away, trying in vain to hide the instrument from sight.
Come now, don't be selfish. Give it to me and you will have your freedom. Your life will be yours again. Keep away from Illuvia and lay low for several years, and the crown will be none the wiser.
I can't.
What?
I've cared for it ever since I was a little girl. How can I possibly give it up now?
I can't give it to you. No. I nearly lost it once already.
Nothing is stopping you from purchasing a new one once you have your freedom. Certainly you'll have to save up for a while. I recognize the value of an average instrument, let alone how much an artisan lute must cost now after centuries of inflation. However, you will have plenty of chances to...
No. No. I said I won't give it to you.
Why not?
Why is he angry at me? Hypocrite! I raise my voice to match his tone. I can't help it. I get competitive.
You imply me to be insensitive on the grounds of trampling through your home, but what about you? Demanding my only means of providing for myself.
Your only means? Nonsense. You're able-bodied, young, far from hideous. Once you have your freedom, I'm quite certain you'll figure something out.
Excuse me?
Your venerable age must have impaired your hearing then, vampire, because I'm not sure you quite caught it when I repeatedly said no. I am not giving it to you.
Fine. Then you're not leaving.
Fine! He flings his hand skywards, turning and stalking towards the nearest window.
I pray you'll have fun rotting in here for the remainder of your brief and miserable existence, mortal. At which point you and I might have something in common.
Welp. He erupts into a vicious flurry of black mist. Once the smoke clears, I see the flapping outline of a bat soaring out of the window and into the night. I groan between gritted teeth, jostling the stupid vase that I'm still holding over my head. As tempting as it is to smash it, I set it down and begin gathering the displaced flowers with a dejected sigh. The blooms are vibrantly fresh and fragrant, but they're going to wilt without water. Gods, I just got into a screaming match with a vampire and upset him so much that he had to, I don't know, go take an angry nap? I'm still alive. I should really count this as a win, but I don't know, my chest is tight with apprehension. I wasn't supposed to annoy him. He said he'd rip me to shreds if I annoyed him. God damn it, what have I done? I should have offered to barter with something else. I doubt he'd be interested in the few coins I have, and I can't bear to part with my music, but he did mention an option to trade knowledge. Even he has had centuries to experience the world around us. Surely there's an obscure nugget of wisdom I can impart. After all, I like to think that everyone I meet teaches me something new. I'll have some leverage if I can figure out what he already knows. And if I can't, then I need to find something else to protect myself. The dagger will be of little use, aside from cutting rope. Chapter 3 is where we'll be continuing next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Take care, and bye-bye.